Welcome to this Shortwave radio channel, and just want to give a little tips and tricks here because a lot of beginners on the channel, and I see a lot of non-beginners also that have a hard time understanding exactly what they're listening to when they tune around the bands. So sometimes they'll post, for example, in the Facebook group, a few people have been posting some reception of stations, but they aren't listening to that station actually. They're listening into other stations. Now, there's a few things you got to understand. First of all, with the schedules, apps, and the websites, schedules are not 100% accurate. There's always changes here and there. Some countries actually have stations pop up here and there more than others, and this is something that sometimes is not in the list of the different stations. So don't always count on the schedules that you see online to be accurate with details. So sometimes you're listening to something, but it might not be in the list. Remember also one of the things about receivers, and it's the selectivity. You might be listening into a station, but if your selectivity is too wide, you're actually maybe listening to something that's 5 kilohertz up or down the frequency you're actually tuning. So you might be on 6200, but in reality, maybe you're listening to 6195. This is something that you got to get used to. I listen with my ears a lot when I tune around. I kind of am able just by listening to kind of focus on where exactly is the center frequency of a station. But of course, that's experience and getting used to it. So remember that if your receiver has its selectivity is too wide, maybe you're listening into a station that's 5 kilohertz up or down. That happens quite often, actually. I've seen a lot of people post, and they're actually listening to a station, but 5 kilohertz up or down, which means when they search the schedules, they're not finding the right station. The other thing is be wary of the type of program because it indicates a lot where you're listening from. If you think you're listening to a station from South America, but it's in Chinese, well, maybe it's not from South America. If you're listening to a station in Spanish and it says that, it's PBS China National Radio, well, they don't have Spanish programming. China Radio International might, but not the, inland Chinese stations from China. So just, try to identify as best as you can the language that you're listening to. If it's music, what type of music? Music will often be an indication of where it might be coming from. And remember that the three things that actually make you, I would say, work 95% of the time in knowing what you're listening to is the frequency, so accurate frequency, the time of day, and the language. These three together, I would say more than 95% of the time you already know what you're listening to in the schedules and the lists that you could find online. Remember, there are some programming. There are some stations you might find that you're listening to but doesn't have any entries in these lists. That's why they are updated quite regularly. And last but not least, why is this day-night showing here? Well, this also helps you in understanding what you're listening to. So for example, say that I'm listening to a station on 15 megahertz in Spanish. And I go to the lists and it says that, China Radio direct from China is in Spanish on 15 megahertz at this time. An example, okay? Well, China is right here in the dark. And 15 megahertz will not propagate pretty much from China to North America in darkness. So you could just say, well, it can be China because it's in the middle of the night. 15 megahertz wouldn't propagate here. So your source of a 15 megahertz signal probably lies somewhere here in the daylight path. It could be a little bit in the darkness, when it's close to the terminator or in the gray line here that you see. It's not impossible that the Spanish transmission could come from Africa, for example. because the daytime isn't far away, and the the signal might actually be skipping on the daylight side of things. But use this as an indication. If you're listening in, say you're listening in East Africa right now. Okay, here's Madagascar at the bottom, where my mouse pointer is. This is Madagascar. Say you're in Madagascar and you're listening to 6050, and it tells you, at this time it probably could be HCJB in Quito, Ecuador. Well, HCJB in Quito, Ecuador is right here, smack in the middle of daylight. Daylight will not propagate 6050 up to here because it's a low frequency. It's mostly a nighttime frequency. Or it will be very, very local area. So if you're in Madagascar, you're on 6050, you're listening to something in Spanish. Well, I don't think it's Quito, Ecuador. There's something in Spanish being broadcast in the vicinity over here in the darkness. That's where you need to look. So these are, things that you find through experience. I mean, I've been listening for this year is going to be 38 years. So, I've acquired that experience over time. So you kind of know what or what not you can listen to. And, but remember to just, be wary of day and night. I'll actually share the link to this page where you could see if where it's day and night in real time. And like I said, the three best things you can do is have accurate frequency, have what time it is in UTC, and especially what language of the broadcast. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe, give us thumbs up. Thank you for watching our videos.